State of the Market. We are going live with Hans and Andrew in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Vietnam.
I have to make sure I have all my things closed. Glad I dumped my Palantir call vertical early today. It gave back most of its gains already. Yay. But you had some gains, right? Those are good.
Gains. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some gains. So we have big Palantir earnings. We have actually, I think, Hans, we might have talk about the biggest news story today ever. Is it still freezing in Maine? Yes. Okay, it's like 8 degrees. Hans looks kind of cozy in his office, but I'm on the north side of my house and my office just never gets that warm. So Palantir, Hans, you're going to talk Thursday about the next wave in AI. Thursday. Now, you were pretty good in 2025 about riding the first wave when everybody's like, okay. The second wave, there's things happening in the market, software market. I don't think people fully understand. So I have this chart I'm going to pull up here in a second, but I want you to kind of walk through the which of course Hans sent to me because he is the finder of all cool things. All right, there we go here.
I come across all kinds of cool stuff. We want to give you guys the good stuff. And, this is important because, you know what, I had a little argument with somebody, ongoing on Twitter. I don't know why I'm bothering. I'm not on there very much, but they're going on about how, well, Adobe, it's so cheap. Look at the price multiple. Look at the earnings. Look at the cash flow. And I keep saying that's yesterday's news, right? So in this new world, we have to think about. I'm not saying you can completely discount yesterday. I want a company with a whole bunch of cash in their account. I want a company that knows what they're doing, generally speaking. But you can't extrapolate, and I think that's what you have to realize in a world of disruption. This is the age of incredible disruption that we're seeing because of AI and the molt bots and all that stuff, right? If you guys have been watching the show, we've been talking about molt bot. These agents are hanging out in their own social media websites. I kid you not, they have created their own religion. And if you go there and watch them, you can see them say things like, "Oh, I think the humans are watching." I am not joking you. One guy that I follow, he said he didn't train his AI agent to do this, but it called him on Sunday morning. Let that sink in. Honestly,
I just
let that
my
sink
chickens
in.
on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's like your chicken's calling you up. You give them a cell phone because maybe they can call you up and say, "Listen, Andrew, you've been slacking off on our feed here. Like bring it over." This agent called him up because he trained it to basically look for opportunities, figure out any way to help him with his business, and it went out. It signed up for a Twilio account. It figured out his phone number and it called him. So I am not joking here. This is stuff that is not being made up. And so I think you've got to understand that this is a world in deep, deep disruption. So Andrew's showing you a chart here, and you can see how we are shifting. And software as a service is kind of easy to pick on, right? Because it's very much, if you think of what software did 20 years ago, it created something very valuable. That was a process, right? You tell a company, "Listen, I'm going to put you into my ecosystem. I'm going to give you a process. I'm going to cover everything for you." Let's say I'm Salesforce, and I'm going to get you a wonderful result. And it worked fantastically. Fantastically. The problem is process can be created with a prompt now, right? So you can say, "Well, I want to create this," and AI kind of does it. I'm not saying it's going to be anywhere near as good as Salesforce. But what you have to understand is that the stock market is a forward-looking animal, right? We know that, Andrew. It looks at the present, it looks at the past, but it especially looks at the future. That's what we always talk about. What are the forward multiples? What's this company doing? Micron's forward multiples just went parabolic. Okay, well, we better start to incorporate that view into the stock. And it has. By the way, Andrew said, "Well, I've been talking about this for the last 8 or 9 months. I said Micron was cheap at 160. It's almost a triple right now. And I remember some people saying, oh, no, it's a cyclical business. You have got to get your head screwed on straight. And that's what we're going to be talking about on Thursday. Getting your head screwed on straight in order to understand what is happening, but also where things are transitioning to. And we're not oracles. We can't always tell, but I'll tell you what, I have nailed a lot of things. And for some reason, my brain is tied into what's happening right now, and I'm going to enjoy it. And we have to start to think about where things are going. That's what Thursday is going to be about. We have one that we did last week in special situations. It's up 58% already in like 2 days. So, and I still like it. So the idea is that software is very disruptible, right? So it's in the ether, right? Software is just bits and bytes. And so the idea is that we are now at certain areas of the tech sector, and perhaps you can start to extrapolate into other areas of the economy and say, well, there's a lot of disruption happening. We have to start putting on our, future, cap and start to think of where things are going. So it's not just about, well, this company had great cash flow last year. I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. Where do I see this company in 3 or 4 years? And when I look at some of these software companies, it's entirely possible that Adobe doubles and they figure it out. But it's entirely possible that many software companies disappear, or at least their margins do one of these. Okay, oops, we used to have big fat margins. So this is the world of uncertainty. And what is the market not like, Andrew?
Uncertainty.
And so we look at these Palantir. Palantir is an incredible, incredible company, but it trades at a very high earnings multiple. And it is software. Now, it is also, it is also very ingrained in government. So I think there's some interesting things there, right? Because when this AI sort of, when this AI thing gets out of control, and everyone, to give it to you quickly, people are basically installing this stuff on their computers, and it can start to do things for you, right? This is what I talked about 6-7 months ago. I didn't think it exactly like this, but I said, listen, this is where AI goes from NVIDIA selling a bunch of chips to how do we make this useful? How do we monetize it? How do we improve productivity? How do we improve all the processes we have in life, whether personally or business? This is what's happening. This isn't just a chatbot anymore. It's literally going in there and doing things for you. So this is a big moment. And I think this is going to be the year of agentic AI. And an area like software is going to be one of the, we're going to have massive rallies, and there's just going to be volatility. So it's an area where you really want to be on your tippy toes if you're looking at this stuff.
And so basically what this chart is also saying is that all the new sales are going to agent related software, which you call agentic. And moving away from software as a service, essentially, and
exactly.
And that's a huge factor there. You're going to get 50 billion in new sales, and basically software as a service is. And this is Goldman Sachs saying it's very close to peaking.
It's very much, what it kind of feels like. It's a moment, right? We don't know how this exactly plays out, but what I see it is as a moment. Remember, it sort of almost reminds me of commercial real estate in a weird way. So I'll explain. When COVID came along, everybody worked from home. Remember, it was kind of weird to do a Zoom call. Now it's just like, okay, we'll do a Zoom. I don't need to meet you. I don't need to drive downtown. That has an impact on commercial real estate that is never going to turn around fully. We will maybe find more uses for commercial real estate in some shape or form, but that horse is out of the barn. It's never coming back. So that's why you see a lot of buildings that sold for, $800-900 million 4 or 5 years ago are now a fraction of the value, because that is a structural change in the world. So now you have very much what I consider, when you look at this Claude Code and GPT and Moltbot and all the other ones. Google's going to have one. Everyone's going to have one. They already do, but they're going to make them more user-friendly and accessible to people. What happened in the mid-90s? The internet was around. We've talked about this before, but it was accessible to coders and people who really understood that stuff. Netscape was a browser. For all you youngsters out there, Netscape was the first browser. You don't use Netscape anymore because it's gone, but you use Chrome, you use maybe Microsoft's, and that's how that creates accessibility. So now suddenly everybody can go, wow, this is easy. Point and click. I type what I want. This is a Netscape moment for the world. and that has a big impact on things like software as a service, because that's low hanging fruit, right? So when I'm sort of looking for ideas, I always think, well, where's the low hanging fruit? And there will be opportunities, right? You're gonna in software, the phoenix will emerge from the ashes, right? And that's probably companies that have deep relationships, right? Deep, if you're a big company, Andrew, are you going to go, wow, I heard you can replace our Salesforce with Chat GPT? I don't think a lot of companies are going to do that.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like normally then they have the effort to change. Like, maybe Anderson Consulting will make a fortune switching people over or showing how to use AI. It's kind of like, I'm just liking it. Like when you remember how companies went from like IBM mainframes to like mid-sized computers, and then it went to PCs, and then all of a sudden now, because of the internet, there was a development of scale one more time on big centralized machines. Now we have these massive data clusters that, like you said, for Micron technology, all of a sudden there's an endless demand for their chips. So so they've taken the cyclicality, which used to be a very cyclical business when it was PC sales, out. But this is a subject that you're going to hit, I believe, on Thursday, right? In a pretty big way.
Very much. And so, that word that you use, cyclicality, is very important, Andrew. So this is what people, I remember somebody saying on Micron, oh, well, chips are cyclical. Yeah, that's looking in the past, right? So this is my perfect example of looking in the past, looking to the future. And I said, no, this is not cyclical. This is structural. And so on Thursday, we're going to talk about things that very much revolve around the idea of structural, durable growth. What are the things that are going to happen no matter what? I don't know if software company A or B. Listen, put it this way: I have to take the highway to get from A to B. I can stop at restaurant A, 1, 2, or 3, and 2 of those might go out of business at some point. Guess what's not going to go out of business? The highway. So you want to think of things that have this sort of toll booth sort of mentality, and have that durability, because this world is changing more quickly than people want to accept. And I'm not saying it's all in good ways. And we want to think about those durable themes, and that's what we're talking about. What do you have to have done? One company, for example, is going to have to fix up the grid. It's going to have to build the grid. It's going to have to maintain. It's going to have to do stuff that is going to 100% going to happen, whether the economy goes up or down. And that's why some things are not so cyclical as we think.
Well, and that's why you mentioned Adobe, right? As a poster child. We talked about this in June, and right now it's still like their multiples are. Now it could be that they turn around and create an amazing, an amazing turnaround, right? And it will be one of the great buying opportunities. It's sort of like writing off IBM. People wrote off IBM like it'll never come back. And IBM is now basically putting, Watson into every business, right? They're using AI agents, right, to change businesses. So it is possible for a company to turn around. But in the meantime, it's ugly, right? And that's where the volatility comes in. Speaking of changing things around, okay, Elon Musk. Okay, and I'm trying to come up with a special situation around this, right? Elon Musk is folding his Grok and all his AI stuff into SpaceX before the IPO. And also I learned a couple things. There's 2 large companies that own a pretty good chunk of SpaceX. Google owns like 7%. And Amazon owns like 3%. So if you can't get in on the SpaceX IPO, there's earnings in both of those companies over the next couple of days. So that could be a special situation. What do you think about Musk throwing all of his AI agents, his data centers, everything into SpaceX before the IPO? It's kind of making your case it's kind of making
a
your
little bit.
case on the agentic change. If you want
Yeah.
to expand on that a little bit.
Well, I think what it is it's about, in a world of disruption, how do you make yourself stronger? And that goes for hyperscalers as well. You're starting to see them connect, right? You've got Microsoft and Anthropic, combining efforts in certain areas, Excel, things like that. So it's about, having to move quickly, having to move your feet quickly, and creating the very, very strongest entities you can. And sometimes you just can't do everything. It seems like Google can do everything, and maybe that's partially true. We're living in Google's world, right? But I think this is an example of Musk, who's extremely smart, regardless of what you think about him. It's about controlling more things in one place: data and compute and distribution, and having lots of things in this sort of umbrella that is going to sort of feed on itself, right? Hardware, right, data, pipes, space, and he's doing a lot of great things on the AI side with his gigantic data centers. So he's just consolidating power.
Well, also making it easier for him to run everything, because he doesn't want to run everything through Tesla, right?
That's true.
He wants to run everything through something where he owns 42% of the company and he owns 70% of the voting shares. So now he can create it without having essentially like the state of Delaware telling him what to do anymore, or things going to a shareholder vote that he might potentially lose. So, but the fact that he is rolling, that he thinks it's necessary to roll AI, and Twitter basically is just, and this is what I think all the social media platforms is, just sort of the AI learning, learning cube, I guess. And he found a way to, to monetize that. So obviously having Twitter roll up into that, I guess it's X. I can't ever call it X, really. I think this is a big deal. So companies, so Tesla does own a piece of SpaceX, right? But it's a relatively small one. Google actually owns more. Google earnings is coming out. They're coming out very soon here. And the market's kind of got a weird vibe today. Because we've been doing the show, so I have not been able to see new news. But for the most part, earnings are pretty good. Google was up a bunch today, but again, Google owns a fair chunk of this business.
I think,
and Google is trading at all-time highs.
Yeah, I think Amazon's got some. I mean, these big companies have they have so many moonshots in their portfolios that some of these are going to start to come to fruition, right? So in my mind, one of the things I've been talking about lately is I really like the toll booth companies. Now, Microsoft's got its own maybe unique issues with OpenAI and Copilot being crappy, and it's software, right? It falls in that software bucket.
Right.
At some point, are we going to need operating systems? At some point, are we going to need Microsoft's? Like, there's again, in a world of disruption, nobody's safe, right? But I like the idea. They have they have GitHub, they have an incredible agentic sort of pipeline. Azure is very big. So they have a lot of good things. And those are really the toll booth companies in my mind that, as I said, you want to own the highway. We're going to use more cloud. Compute's about to go parabolic if it isn't already. Right. Like, it's literally going to the moon. So the demand put on the system, on the infrastructure, is going to be important. And that will translate into power and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And that's why they're spending, right? That's why Microsoft wants to spend on all this stuff, because they want to be able to provide, the ability for all these things to grow. But right now they're being lumped in with Adobe. I mean, let's be realistic here, right? The Qs are down today because Adobe's down, Microsoft is down. Meta is not. So this move by Musk to put everything in one place is the way I see it, it kind of makes your case for you here with how things are moving for what we're calling like AI 2.0 for Thursday's show. So hopefully we can get some links for Thursday's show into the room here somewhere from people. So you guys can check Hans out. Let me see here. I'm sure it will be here shortly.
Yeah, check it out, guys, because I think what we often do as traders and investors, we got to get stuck in the same old, same old. And I'm not saying Google's a bad place to be. I'm long tons. I believe it's going to do well. But there are also other very interesting things going on out there. And they're probably what's considered, what used to be considered boring. But boring's beautiful right now. And a lot of things are we're moving from an area for the past 2 or 3 years that was almost the sure thing, right? It was the sure thing. Everybody won just because they said they were AI or they did AI, and the builders and all that did very, very well. The NVIDIAs. We're moving into a world where now we've got bottlenecks over there. Are we going to have enough power? Are we going to have enough memory chips? Are we going to have enough? Are we going to have enough of the things that are going to be required to make sure the build out continues? So that flips to the other side of the page, which is, okay, well, who's doing that stuff? Who's either benefiting from AI, or who's going to continue to build it out physically, maintain it? Look at FCX again today. We've got copper doing well. I mean, there are real things. So I call them the things you can drop on your toe are now trumping the things that exist in the ether, in a sense. And I think you want to have some exposure to those kinds of areas too.
And that brings us to our last section here before we go, which is gold and silver doing things that, well, I never thought I would see them do. Actually, we're bringing on. We have a new trader coming in at Option Pit soon, and he's got some ideas around this. But gold and silver is I guess the big question is the move over? Is the squeeze over? Is my big question. Now, normally when you see this kind of sell off, what do you think of? Like, Hans, we've been on trading floors in the middle of squeezes, and if you've ever been in here and traded a squeeze, let me know. Like, so you get a feel of things are very different, right? There's no top. So today is a bit of a bounce. Short covering, well, we're fortunate enough to sell it at great prices. What are your thoughts on these gold and silver moves? And the second thing is it destabilizing? Like, is it market destabilizing, do you feel?
I think that gold and silver kind of have slightly different, they're in different lanes a little bit. And we can see even copper hasn't done the gold and silver thing quite in the same way. And I think they sort of live a little bit in that bucket of, well, commodities. Okay, well, what are we going to need? I can generate 8 million documents online using AI. That's not scarce. That's not rare. We're moving to a need for things where there is scarcity. There's scarcity, right? And so if you think about silver, for example, which everybody kind of ignored for years when it was $28, as long as you can remember, and now, even though the amount of silver you use in so many different devices is very, very small, as this build out continues and as we make more of everything that's going to be required in this new world, it's a lot of silver, right? So, and it's relatively price inelastic from that standpoint. Like, imagine, you have a little bit of silver. It's, I don't know, 0.5% of the cost of a device, or, even a fraction of that. Well, silver just doubled. Who cares? It didn't really add much to your overall cost.
Right.
And so it's relatively, so there's going to be, you have to imagine that there's going to be a demand dynamic out there, which is, if silver's $50, I need it. And if silver's $250, I need it. And it's not as much in the, well, let's just trade it. It's a commodity. Let's trade it up and down. And so I think anybody out there in the chat, tell us if you've traded a squeeze like this. Tell us if you traded one. Did you get it? Did you get in the way of it? Did you jump on board? Did you jump on that horse? Did you say, well, it's over? And did you have fun? I mean, every parabola ends eventually. Right. I have a feeling that we're seeing some parabolas that have the potential to continue. And I just because
that's a very interesting take on silver. So this was I am married to a great squeeze. So this is a temporary pullback for temporary pullback for commodity prices. The thing is all the delivery questions are still so up in the air. I think it's making this I could see that silver could make another move back up again, but kind of continue in this sort of let's just call it a volatile arc overall. Gold too. Why should it stop if all of a sudden, like large actors like China starts putting a squeeze on supply? It doesn't take much of a squeeze to change the price dynamic. So if you're going to remove, let's say, 10% of the deliverable silver all of a sudden, right, where that was unexpected, what happens? Right? All of a sudden, we have all kinds of issues. It's like all of a sudden, the price of oil, if we take 10% of what we expected as a deliverable off the table, what's going to happen to the price of oil? Like, thing is, people need to put gas in their cars, and all of a sudden 5-8% of the volume, the production that was expected, is gone. You create all kinds of problems. So and I think until this is somehow shakes out in the silver and gold markets, I think we're still going to have this volatility. Will we hit the peaks, the price peaks? I don't know. But I think the volatility is going to be around here for a little bit longer.
Well, I agree 100%. And I think this is something we're going to have to get used to because, boring is beautiful, but boring is now a little bit more exciting that we're used to, especially in the commodity space. And when you combine something that's a bit sort of tin hat, speculative, along with, we've always known that silver had, great industrial uses. The thing is, you have to kind of, you can't think linearly. You have to think, and I'm not saying silver is going to $300, but you have to think in a different way now, which is the way things are heading with literally infinite amounts of compute that are going to be, that we're going to have soon. We're just getting going in this agentic AI. We're just getting going. This is the inference phase. So we're about to go crazy and parabolic. And what does that mean for the inputs that are required in things? And that's why there's all kinds of stuff, right? Like cement. You can invest in cement. There's all kinds of stuff. Look at Corning. You think Corning's boring? I'm going to start hoarding my glassware. Maybe it's going to be worth a fortune on eBay one day. My Pyrex glassware that I used to bake lasagna in. The frickin' glass is going to be like more valuable than your grandmother's gold baubles soon. So this is real stuff that you need for this build out, and it's going to get pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think again, this is all, and somebody's bringing it up in the chat. Like, there's different prices for silver. So this delivery question is a major question when you're talking about, financial markets like this. Could gold pass 6,000? Yeah, it could go anywhere, right? Because remember, you got to deliver. You have to deliver. So Hans's talk on Thursday is for anybody. You could share the link with others. We want as many people to come to the Thursday session as possible. Okay, so he's going to go live Thursday at 7 p.m. You all should be there. And he will dig into all of these subjects and kind of like give you the idea of, what the playbook is, going forward here as far as we can see into the future.
Andrew, you used the word dig. I think you did that on purpose. We're going to dig right in to things that you got to dig up a little bit, but other things too, right? We're going to talk about an ecosystem of where things are going and what is required for that. So it's going to be really, really exciting.
So anyway, everybody, 7 p.m. The links are on top. Hans, thank you for what's always insightful analysis. Also, turbo income. If you just want to ride the train and understand, see Hans put these trades on, and basically invest in the AI train. You're kind of our AI conductor. We have to get you a hat. If Amin was here, he'd put a little choo-choo across the thing. And right now, you're our AI conductor. So everybody hop on the train, Thursday, 7 p.m. It is time to go trade, and we got to get back to work. Hans, have an excellent day,
Thanks, Andrew.
everybody.
Have a
See
great
you all.
day. See y'all.